Pastor Roy Gerhart from Galloway United Methodist Church in Franklin, Pennsylvania, sharing a few words of encouragement to help us follow after Jesus. The story of Gideon is filled with inspiration for us. We can see how God is able to work with ordinary people to do extraordinary things. In fact, we see with Gideon that God will take people who are underqualified for the task at hand, and in order to demonstrate his power and his presence in their lives, so that he has to lead them step by step to grow as they begin to understand his will and purpose and learn to follow by faith into things that only God can do. But being able to follow the Lord and see his power displayed in our lives is the greatest gift in life, but sometimes one of the greatest challenges as well. It was challenging for Gideon to follow after God and to know that what he was doing was genuinely God's will. I mean, God started with an inspiring meeting with an angel that ended with a flash of inspiration, a little miraculous moment that allowed Gideon to believe that this was really God speaking to him. But then Gideon had to take some further steps. And this is where you and I have to go. If you're going to know God's will and grow deeper in your faith and more able to discern God's direction for your life, you're going to have to cultivate this by taking those little steps of faith to follow after God. And what God will do with us is he will take us into challenges, into moments in our life where we are unsure about the future, where we look at the situation and say, I don't think I can do that. And yet, when we trust God and see his hand move in that moment, we come away all the more certain that God is with us, that that was God directing, and that God did something that we could not have done on our own. In fact, we wouldn't even have thought of it. And so that God is building in us this kind of faith and strength. And he does that with Gideon. And even when Gideon became uncertain and asked for God to give him a sign, with the sheepskin being dry and wet and all of those things, God did it. God was willing to continue to just bolster Gideon's confidence even when he felt a little shaky. When it came right down to it, right before the battle, God did that last great move for Gideon, taking him down where he listened in at the Midianite camp. And he heard that one of those Midianites had had a dream. Where do you think that came from? God gave this Midianite a dream that said, we're going to lose big. This guy Gideon is going to beat us. And Gideon was able to go into that battle totally confident of God's presence and his power, because step by step, God had been building that trust and that clear recognition of God's voice into Gideon's life. This is what you and I have to do, is follow after God step by step and cultivate that walk with him. Begin by getting into his word, letting his word become saturating to your mind and to your soul, so that you give God a lot to work with. The more that you've given the word room in your life to have residence there, the more that God has to work with, because when God comes along and inspiring you, you have all of the background of Gideon and Abraham, Mary and Esther and Ruth and the apostles, all of these people's testimonies and stories, and all of the descriptions of God's working in their lives to build on. And so that when the Lord is moving in your life, you have something to recognize it by in their lives. And God will take that and begin to produce greater and greater faith in you, helping you to take just one more step, one more move forward, and recognizing his voice as you go. God will help you to discern the difference between his will and yours, between his purpose and your big ideas. Let me tell you, I've had lots of big ideas in my life, and many of those have started out looking great to me, only to sink, where nothing would happen, where it became clear that I was trying to make something happen that God was not in, that God was not empowering it, that God was not bringing it to pass. But there have been then those moments when I've realized that God has inspired me, and I may have been dismissive. I may not have had the confidence to follow through, but that seed that he planted in my mind and in my heart would not go away. It just kept kind of sitting there, and it began to sprout, began to get some traction with me to think about it, and then to even begin to consider it, to pray over it, to begin to say, God, is this really your direction? And to take some small steps in that direction, and to see God open up the way and to make it happen. Listen, as you take those steps in faith in your life, God will build you up, and you will be able to confidently face day after day, knowing God is with me. God is able to overcome things that I could never meet on my own, and God is able to see me through. May God bless you today, and as you share this good news, may God make you a blessing wherever he takes you.